So welcome to a bit of a different style of video today. Today we're looking at obviously what I'm calling the current of purpose. So that's what I'm going to show you in this video. So what is the current of purpose? We talk about purpose, right? Everyone wants to find their purpose. We want to find our passion, all this kind of thing, right? So really that's what we're talking about in this video. How do we find purpose? How do we unlock purpose? I'm going to give you this analogy, this idea of tapping into the current of purpose. So as you can see down here, I've got a few things going on. So I'm going to base this on this idea of this is the Ikigai model. And you've probably heard of this Ikigai model, right? Japanese idea of what it means to live a passionate, purposeful life, right? So this is a horrible representation of this, but essentially you've got four aspects here, right? You've got what you're good at, and so this is good, and you've got what you like or what you love. Okay, so these two aspects, this is you, right? This is what you like. And this is going to be the crux of what we talk about today. So this is what you like, right? This is your stuff here. Now, to actually get to Ikigai, we also then need to be outside ourselves. We need to have something we can get paid for, right? Which is external. This is the market, right? And we need something that the world actually needs. Okay, so these are both external things. So this is us, right? This is our stuff, what we like. And then let's say this is the external stuff, right? This is what the world needs. This is the stuff outside of ourselves. And if we can hit this nice spot in the middle here, this is the Ikigai here, right? In the middle of this Venn diagram, if we can find something that we're good at, basically something that utilizes our skills, our traits, the stuff that we're really, really good at and that we love doing, right? We're good at it and we love doing it and the world needs it and we can get paid for it, right? This is something that's going to be a business. This is going to be something that we can do long term because we can get paid for it, right? Or we can have some sort of a value transaction here. Now, from a business perspective, yes, we want money, financial return, but get paid for could also be, if you're thinking about this just in terms of life's purpose, you could get paid in, emotional or spiritual rewards, right? Psychological rewards, relational rewards. So you can think of this as, rewards, payment, value, some sort of transaction, right? That happens here. Now, the needs part, this means that it's actually solving a problem, right? Again, we come back to sort of business language. There's a problem here that somebody has that the stuff that we like to do actually solves, right? So this is an important part as well when we're thinking about life's purpose, because of life's purpose, we want something that's going to give us longevity, right? We don't just want to be doing what we're good at. We want this part as well. And that's what I'm going to get into in this part of this diagram that you're looking at if you're wondering what all of this is. So essentially, right, this stuff here, this is our stuff, right? We can call this our personal will, right? This is the stuff that we like in the world. This is our personal will. I'm going to use that language. Okay, this is our personal will. This is stuff we like to do. Let's call this what we like to do. Okay, so here's what a lot of people do, right? We think of our purpose, our passion, our curiosities. We go out in the world and we start a business based on stuff that we're good at. We take our skill sets, our qualities, our character traits, and we make a business based on essentially our stuff, right? Our personal likes, our personal will. So what happens when we do that? Now, this channel down the middle, right? We're going to call this is the current of purpose, right? So this is when you're locked into purpose. This is the current, right? And this is a current because it's going to take you, right? The current, you get into the current and then you get into the flow, right? So this is the flow of the current. When we can get into that flow, everything happens naturally. And this is idea of, life becomes easy. We get in the flow. The universe has your back. That kind of idea, right? That's why we want to get into this flow, this current of purpose. Here's the problem though. We want to get into this flow of purpose. When we just focus on what we like, our personal will, we get too wrapped up in just doing, and I say just doing what we like to do. This is what I think happens, right? And this for me explains temporary success, because what happens when we're trying to get into this current and we do this, right? We get into the current for a bit and then this happens and we get into the current for a bit and this happens and we get into the current for a bit. But this bouncing, right? This is temporary success. This is lack of consistency. This is instability, right? This is instability because what's happening is we've only got one side of this equation, right? But a lot of us do this, right? We go and do the thing that we like to do and we don't take into consideration a big problem or other needs, right? Something bigger, something outside of ourselves. But this works, right? This works sometimes. And this is the sometimes, right? This might be, maybe this works for a week, maybe this time, maybe this is like, I don't know, 3 to 4 years, right? We kind of get this cycle where the thing that we like to do gets magnetized into this flow of purpose because, it's trending. Maybe this is like what we're good and what we love is like crypto or something like that, right? And crypto is trending. So we get this peak and we smash it for 3 years. But then we bounce out and we get broke again. And then Bitcoin comes back again and we get another 6 months here of success, right? But it's this temporary bouncing. And I think this is what a lot of businesses feel like. And you can let me know in the comments if that's true for you, right? This idea of temporary success. You kind of get in the flow and then boom, you kick back out again. And then you drop in the flow and then boom, you get kicked back out again. And I think this is why, right? Because we're focusing solely or mostly on personal will, on what we want to do. Now, how do we get in the flow, right? How do we get into the current of purpose? We need to bring in this stuff, right? Something we can get paid for, which means there's a value exchange, which means somebody values what we do and wants to reward us for it. They want to exchange currency. They want to exchange value. They want to pay us money, right? Which is energy, right? There's an energetic transaction. Something happens here. There's a value exchange. And we get that value exchange because it's something that's actually needed. This is the problem here, right? When we're bouncing like this, is that this thing, just what we like, might not necessarily be what's actually needed. And it might not be valuable over the long term, right? It's valuable temporarily, and there's some value here, but it's not, we're not getting into this where there's value all the way down, right? We get into this sort of current of value and we get consistent longevity value once we're in that current, right? So these two things need to come up here. So for these purposes, we're going to call this the will, right? And I call this the universal will because this is, this is like a plan outside of you. This is what the universe or God or the environment, the market, whatever, right? This is something outside of you that's beyond you, that's kind of driving life, driving your life, driving your results, because it's driving other people, right? So this is much more controllable by you. This is less controllable by you, but you want to tap into this universal will, right? And that's what happens when you tap into the universal will, is you get the balance, right? You get this nice balance in the middle when you add those two together. When your personal will, you can combine that with the universal will, which means there's value being exchanged rather than this kind of bouncing effect that we have over here. We get into the flow. So the downside of this, if we just, again, we can do this, right? We can just sometimes focus on the universal rule, right? We can be fully altruistic over here, and we can kind of just work for others, right? We can focus on just working for others and just doing what other people want us to do, which is kind of this universal will, right? It's the will that's outside of ourselves that's sort of driving our lives, right? So we can get tied up in this, right? So too much altruism can be a negative thing because this takes us off in this direction, right? Whereas this is sort of taking us in this direction, and the temporary success kind of pulls us in and magnetizes us in every now and then. We get this bouncing effect. We get this bouncing effect over here. So what happens over here when we just focus on serving others, maybe over serving, right? Being people pleasers, that kind of thing. This is driving us in this direction. Again, it's not driving us into the current. It's driving us away from the current in the opposite direction. So this is why, and here, right, this feels like challenges, right? This is challenges, problems. This is stress as well, right? Because this is where we can feel like life is running us. We're not running life, right? And like this is what happened to me when I was running my agency, right? And I got 15 years in, and I just kind of got to a point where the universal will, and in this time, this stuff, what I could get paid for and what people needed wasn't what I wanted to do anymore, right? So my personal will was really going this way, and the universal pull was going this way, right? And this is not a good place to be in, right? When you feel like this universal will, this could also be the will of your business, right? You build up a business based on what you like, and then kind of the business takes over. And this is, enterprise business. Enterprise businesses, a lot of the time, when you build up these monster businesses, the business takes over, and then who you want to be and who you need to be, right, in the business is really distinct. And you get this pull on your personality, right? Your soul's getting pulled in these two different ways, and that doesn't feel very good. So this is something I experienced, and I call this existential burnout, right? This is a form of burnout where who I want to be and who I need to be in the business was too different. It was really distinct in this pulling apart where I want to be equal. I want this equilibrium and balance in the middle. I'm being pulled this way, and that doesn't feel very good. So even if this is not a business, you can understand this as who you feel like you want to be or who you know you are, and what the world, what the universe, what your circumstances, what your friend group, what your uni mates, right, what your relationship wants you to be or needs you to be. So what's happened is this needs a value exchange, right? You can only get paid in this Ikigai model when there is a value exchange. So when the thing that's valued and needs to get exchanged over here isn't what you value, right? So it can even put value up here, right? And this is why we focus on value systems so much. Both of these things have value systems. When these values aren't calibrated, excuse my handwriting, right? When the values are completely different here, these things don't balance out, right? So we have one will driving us over here, and then we have another will driving us over here because the value's not balanced. And what we want to get to is balanced value, right? We want this balanced value. When the value exchange, what I'm willing to give for value, what I want to give, and what this thing wants to receive as value, right? So this could be a relationship, right? Your partner wants something from you that you're not willing to give. That's the end of a relationship. Your business wants something from you that you're not willing to give. That's the end of your business. But when you can balance it, we can get the correct value exchange and we can drop into the flow, right? We can drop into the current of purpose. And this is what purpose feels like, right? When you are on purpose, this is what it feels like, what you like to do and what the world needs, and when the value exchange is equivalent, what you're willing to give, and what the business, the relationship, the partnership, the universe, life values as an exchange is balanced, we get the equilibrium, and both of these things start to magnetize in, right? They go this way. And when both of these are being pulled together, we get driven into the current, right? So rather than having this bouncing effect that we have over here, where we're bouncing into the current, out of the current, and it's this temporary success, if we can balance this equation, right? Balance our will with the universal will, our business will, whatever, right? When we can balance that equation, it's easier for us to drop into this flow. And this is where it feels like, you have this idea of the force of the universe, or the force of life, or the force of God, if you're more religious, right? The force of the universe at your back, right? Your sails are full and life is easy, business is easier, right? But because this is will, there's still will involved. There's still this to maintain this current, right? The current moves, but the current still requires this balance to continue. It requires value exchange from both sides to stay in the current. And this is what's happening here, right? The value exchange works here. There's a season for it, but then the value stops. So we come out of the river, we come out of the current, and we keep going and hopping, right? So we need to maintain the balance all the way through to stay in the flow. So it's not a case that you just do this once and you lock it in and then you stay in it forever, right? This is the work. The work is, right, stay in the flow. And that's why the river moves. That's why the current moves. There's that opposition, right? We've got the two banks. We've got the opposition in the banks, and that keeps us. We need to keep the equilibrium here between the banks as well, right? So this is the work. And this is why we keep working in our businesses. This is why we keep working at life. We don't just get into the flow and go, okay, I'm good now, and we stop. Because we get into the flow and we stop, life's going to kick us out one way or the other, depending where the weakness is, right? Life's going to find the path of least resistance, right? So say everything lines up, we get in the flow, everything's going great, and then our personal will gives out, boom, we pop out here, right? Because our personal will was the path of least resistance. That's what gave up. We stopped our daily habits. We stopped doing the things that got us into the flow in the first place. We stopped posting to social media regularly, right? We stopped making sales calls. We stopped doing the things and thinking the way that we used to think that got us into the flow in the first place. So this is the path of least resistance. Or we maintain our discipline and we maintain our personal integrity, but we're not aligned to the universal will. This changes, right? Something here changes. The market shifts, right? In business, the market can shift. Again, the value proposition changes. The social media channel that we're posting on dies, or the audience dies, right? So now this is the universal. This is the path of least resistance, and that's going to drop us out of the flow. It's going to drop us out of the current of purpose, right? So life will always find the path of least resistance. What we want is to make the path of least resistance here, right? Down the middle. And that's creating, you can think of this as polarity. And again, this is just an idea, right? There's a polarity. So as long as we maintain the polarity, we stay in the channel. Then we want to keep this at 100, right? It's another way to think about it, right? We keep doing everything here and we understand what the value exchange is. We understand what the problems are in the market, right? This could also be, this kick out point could be that the needs change, the problem changes, the expectation, that's another big one, right? The expectation of the market changes, right? So this universal will, things like needs, problems, expectation, the market, this is stuff outside of your control. This personal will, this is within your control, right? So when stuff outside of us changes, we want to be conscious of this and we want to be able to adjust our course to stay in the stream, right? Because we could stay in the stream here, but if we go for a direct line, right now we're outside of the stream and then we're back in the stream a bit, right? But all of this is wasted effort because the market's shifted, the expectations shifted. Something's happened at this point where things have moved and we haven't pivoted, right? The word of 2020, we haven't pivoted, right? We haven't changed what we were doing to match what the universe, what life, what the market, what the expectation was. And we maintain our straight trajectory and we miss all of this opportunity, whereas we could have picked up all that opportunity and stayed in the current, right? So I know this looks like a dog's breakfast now, but I hope you've been following along. And I hope you get this idea that just doing what we want to do isn't going to work, and just doing what other people want for us and want us to do also doesn't work, right? We want to balance what we want to do and what life expects from us, what other people expect from us. Again, relationships, businesses, partnerships, life in general, culture, society, all of these expectations, right? These are constantly changing. And as much as we just want to do what we want to do all of the time, yes, we want to tap into this because this is our passion, this is our curiosity, which this is what gets us into the channel, into the current. But we need to balance that with the changes over here. And this needs to change as this changes, right? And that's the duality of life. That's the polarity of life. That as this shifts, we need to shift and adapt. And this is adaptability, right? This is maybe the big takeaway, right? Adaptability. This is also things like resilience, right? Grit, these sorts of ideas, right? Because these are active things, right? Being adaptable is a skill set. Being resilient is a skill set. Having grit is a skill set. These are things we can learn. These are things that we do. And by doing these things, it helps us stay in this current of purpose. So as a final takeaway, when I think of purpose, this is how I think of purpose. I think of passion. It's an active process, right? Finding your purpose and finding your passion. You don't just go out there and find it and you get it once and you're done. It's an active process. And this is life, right? Purpose is life. Passion is life. And staying in this current of purpose, we need to get into it and find this balance, this value exchange. Then we get into the current, and to stay in it, we need to remain adaptable, resilient, gritty, diligent, right? We want good daily habits that keep us in here. We want a good level of consciousness of what's happening over here, so we can be mindful of when things need to change and when we need to change ourselves, right? So, right, the relationship expectation changes. Do you just go, well, let's can the relationship? Or do I go, well, I just need to work on my personal will a bit. There's something that I like to do that, it's more worth me changing that thing and being adaptable to stay in the current of the relationship than giving up the relationship, right? So that's the balance. Neither one is fixed. Both need to change as the banks move, as this current moves. To stay in it, we're continually staying in the flow by changing and adapting and being resilient and flexible. So I hope that's made sense. Let me know in the comments whether you like this style of video. I'll try to make my writing better as we go, and let me know what you got from it, and I'll see you on the next one.